kind of different things. So those are laying an imprint on that child's brain. So the mere removal of a child from their parents is the most traumatic thing a child could ever experience, even when it's a harmful experience. So I have people all the time say, well, I got the child when they were 3 days old. What, you know? I don't get it. Oh, no, you didn't. There was 9 months in utero. And then there was the birthing experience. So those lay down a lot of those tracks on that child's psyche that now you didn't have any control over. And you may not understand why that's happening, okay? What other emotions? Fear is probably the biggest one. What are you fearful of? Anybody else? People's judgment. And doesn't that go back with maybe fear of failure? Fear of failure. I saw a mom one time at the mall, and she's sitting on the floor with the child in the big area, you know, where all kinds of people are walking, and I just saw her sitting there trying to calm her child down, and I thought, you go, girl. I want to just go sit down with her and say, I'm so proud of you. You didn't worry about what other people were thinking. You did what your child needed. Hallelujah to you. Forget the other stuff. But we have a fear of failure. We have a fear of rejection. We have a fear of being alone. Here's the biggest fear that most people won't admit. The fear of being found out. What does that mean?
You'll be found out.
Found out.
Mm-hmm.
That you put on a farce. That I don't have it all together. Anybody else ever think that? I'm like, okay, and I'm the one up here training. So one of my greatest fears is that I'll be found out that I don't really know that much. And I don't really have it all together. And I screw up on a regular basis. Isn't that? But the fear can either paralyze us, it can freeze us, or it can cause us to fight and work through it. Okay? So that resilience, and we see that in a child. And so a child starts to fight because they're in that survival mode. And what do? We tell them, quit, stop, don't be so aggressive. That might be the very resilience they're going to need to make it through. So we need to help them figure out what's going on and channel that, okay? So here's some descriptors that can be very helpful in working with the family. All right, there was a child who went forth every day, and all that he looked upon became part of him. Do you understand that? A child's like a quilt. They take on all the little pieces. And so, all right, so here we're going to do a case study. We're talking about little Maya. She wakes up crying in the middle of the night. And rather than my looking backwards, this is a little awkward here.
You all have the case studies in this packet. It starts with the green.
And we're just going to stay off the PowerPoint for right now, because those are more of it. So it says, when her Aunt Jenna tries to soothe her, Maya arches her back. You ever seen a baby do that? Pushes her hands against Jenna's shoulders and forearms and screams even harder. When Jenna tries to make eye contact with Maya, the baby turns her head away. It's like this. Then this little baby makes me feel completely rejected. Sometimes I feel so helpless. I just want to put her down and let her cry. What did you notice in Jenna's statement? I and me, right? I want to know what was Jenna's history. Does Jenna feel competent? So Jenna's fear might be that I'm not competent, I don't know what to do. So then the baby ignites that fear in her because the baby's doing things that aren't really in the scope of what a baby does. All right? So we're going to present these, and then we're going to circle back around. It's really a very exciting way that we look at these things. Will you do the thing for me? You can just put your chair over there and do it so I won't have to keep moving. And actually, there's this chair right there if you want, it's higher. Since being placed in foster care, Rachel's shown little interest in food and has lost a pound. That's not a good thing, okay? Rachel used to say mama, dada, baba, hi, and bye-bye, but she stopped talking. She often stands by the door or window, silently look around as if waiting for someone. What's her behavior saying? She's waiting for mom. And we know that, so developmentally, she's probably been right on task. She was moved, and what happened? Where is she developmentally now? She's regressed. She's regressed at least 6 months. Okay. We know, you'll have to do it again. We know that kids with trauma histories kind come out about half of their chronological age. So a child with a trauma history who's 18 and has a significant trauma history, he may be intellectually 18, but socially, emotionally, he's going to be closer to 9. So when you're working with that child, you cannot look at them. He's 18, what do you mean? Why should I have to break these things down in very short sentences for him? Because that's his trauma history and that's where his brain is. So Tommy plays repeatedly with a toy police car and an ambulance, crashing them into each other, making siren sounds. When his foster father tries to change the play, he screams and throws the police car and ambulance. He's playing out the experience for him, isn't he? Okay, go. So now we have Andrea. She enjoys reading with her foster father. One day while she's sitting on his lap, she began to rub herself up and down against his crotch. Shocked and startled, he pushed her away. Get out of here, right? She has no idea what she did, and he's pushing her away. Andrea ran to her room sobbing, "Why does everyone hate me?" She began frantically packing her suitcase. Okay, next. So again, these behaviors out of context are not going to make sense, correct? So James is withdrawn and unresponsive with his foster parents. When asked what he wants, he says, whatever. He's been failing classes and hanging out with kids who dress in black. People are getting a little scared about this, aren't they? Oh, we're thinking goth, we're thinking gangs, we're thinking whatever. When James moved in, his foster parents asked if he wanted to put up some pictures of his grandparents. No, I don't. Leave me alone, he snapped and went to his bedroom. What kind of, is that fight, flight, or freeze there? Flight. Leave me alone. He's running away. Okay. So we have Javier. He's gotten into trouble for not paying attention and joking around in class. Now he's skipping classes and he smokes pot in the nearby park. At a party, he saw a friend verbally abusing a girl. When his friend pushed the girl, Javier beat up his friend. Ooh. Now his caseworker says, what were you doing? And Javier says, I don't know, I just wanted to kill him. Sound familiar? Any of these case scenarios could have been happening in any one of our homes or where the clients were working for. So we can be left with all of these different feelings. What are we doing? Their behaviors don't make sense. They're scary for us. We're confused. We're frustrated. I feel unappreciated. I've given this kid so much. I don't get it. Why are they acting that way? They have a great opportunity in my home. It's not right. And so we get angry and we start to feel helpless. And if we feel helpless, we might also feel what? The other H word? Hopeless. Exactly. So when you understand what trauma is and how it's affected you and your child, you can communicate with them. And you can improve and help them with their behaviors. Okay? But if we focus on the behaviors without understanding the needs and the feelings that drove it, we're going to miss that. We're going to get them into compliance, but we're not going to have an opportunity for healing or for improvement. All right? So I'm going to just keep hitting that and hitting that over and over. So here's the essential elements. Recognize the impact. We laid that down at the very beginning. Is there anybody here that would deny the effect that trauma's had on the child? Okay, good, because I was going to ask you to leave if you think the word. Just kidding. So help your child to feel safe. How can we help a child feel safe? What can we do? Change our approach. Which is what? What might we need to do that would help them feel safe? Think before we speak. Ooh, that's kind of meddling with us, isn't it? Gently and a soft tone. Excellent. We try to teach, and we teach our staff. Like I said, we were just staffing some cases yesterday. When things get heated, we should go lower, slower, and softer. So go down. My knees will pop. Go down, get softer, get slower. Because the brain can't process when the brain, think about when you're stressed and somebody comes at you and goes, blah, 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 blah. What did you hear? Blah, 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 blah. So if a child is in stress, if a parent is in stress, we want to go lower, we want to go slower and softer. We want to give them time to process. And we want to take the threat out. Because if a child senses threat on any front, then they can't feel safe. Okay? I am a big gesturer. And so I really worked hard on not doing things like this. This is a pretty violent gesture. This is like a chopping block. Be very careful about our animation. coordination, our posturing, our space, our intentions. They get all. The other thing that children need to feel safe is predictability. We're going to go right now. So every time you go to get in the car, could be a signal, a trauma response. I call them trauma echoes. A trauma echo of when they were removed from their home. So they may not like that transition. They don't like the unknown. Most of us don't like the unknown, do we? You know, we're going somewhere, oh, what time should I be there? What should I bring? What should I wear? What's it going to be like? When will we be over? We want all those questions answered. For a child, they don't get the opportunity to get all those questions answered. So that's another way that we can provide safety and containment, answering those questions, predicting things for them, being consistent, following through. If we say we're going to do this, this, and this, you better do this, this, and this, okay? Help your child to understand and manage the overwhelming emotions. We can't freak out when they get big with their emotions. What we can do is say, wow, that must be pretty overwhelming. I'm really sad, freak out. But you know what? There's not anything you can say or do that I can't handle. You can give those to me. I'll take care of that for you. I can see a lot of anger there. I can hold that for you. Isn't that what we all seek in relationships? Is somebody that gets us, somebody that we're not going to overwhelm. You know, I'm pretty intense, so I appreciate those people in my life that just take me for who I am. I like that. Isn't that what we all seek in relationship? So letting those kids know, I can handle that, and if I'm regulated with your emotions, then the child can let go and they can regulate with those emotions. Right? Make sense? Okay, next. Help your child understand and modify behaviors. This is down the road. This is down the road to understand. So self-awareness and understanding, yes. But changing the behaviors, I take a little departure from some of this, that'll come. But right now we really want the self-awareness and the understanding so that they can, because it's like we don't want to focus on the behaviors right now, because what's going to happen when emotional issues come up later down the road? If we've only focused on behaviors, then it's like being at Chuck E. Cheese, and you know that guacamole thing? I always make it sound like guacamole, but you know that guacamole or whack-a-mole, is that what it is? Whack-a-mole? Not guacamole. Guacamole, I don't know. Whack-a-mole, where you push it down, you hit it, and what happens? Another one pops up. So we deal with this behavior, and guess what happens? Before we can even move this thing, this one came up. And so we can just spend our whole time trying to focus on eliminating and extinguish behaviors, or we can help that child learn emotional regulation. And if they learn emotional regulation, they will be able to understand and modify their behaviors. Make sense? It's simple, but not easy, right? It's simple concepts, but it's not easy because many times we don't think before we speak. We're like, I can't believe you just did that. Da, 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 da. We use our words, and kids use their behaviors. We use more words, they use more behaviors. So we use more words, and they use more behaviors. And so we've got to unwind it somewhere. Our words are the least effective tool we have in working with kids, particularly kids that are dysregulated. And that's the one we use. That's like we go to our arsenal and we pull out words. 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 I'm here to say that there's a lot of other things we can do. Okay. Respect and support stable and enduring relationships. So if your child came from, even like what you said, maybe a parent that was abusive. Now we want to keep the child safe, but we're not to dishonor that parent. Why would you want to go back there? You know, they did this, this, and this to you. To say, you know, your mom and dad really loved you. And we're able to find some strength and support the fact that they have that connection. Children do better if they have a connection to their past. If they have connection, maybe we find a grandparent. There was a teacher or coach. Yes?
But, okay, so we could say, well, your parents really loved you. But I assume there's also a point where we never, ever lied to this child because they've had enough lying. And if it's a fact that parents that wanted to get rid of them and solve them, and sort of have no intention of ever coming back, don't want them, I assume that's when we go try and find grandparents or something that loved you, or?
Well, that's a very good question about, maybe parents' intention was not ever to get them back. So we can go to the place of, your parents loved you enough, they wanted to make sure that you were in a safe home. And they knew that they couldn't do that, so they did everything they could to help you find a home that would take care of you. And that's why you're in my home. Okay? I didn't vilify them, and it was honest. They may have voluntarily relinquished, or they may have acknowledged, I can't do this, by failing the different treatment plans. We don't want to lie, we don't want dishonesty, you're absolutely right, but we can look for the strengths in the situation and take our leads from the kids and listen to what it is that they're saying as well. So what they really need is to feel that they weren't rejected. That's that heart need, that I wasn't rejected, that I'm worthy, that somebody thinks there's value in me. So, and again, it might be that we find it through a grandparent or even through a sibling or some way, so that the big thing is we just don't want to dishonor or disrespect those people in their lives, even when they were, our own personal feelings come to play, because there's some parents that have done some awful things, and do I have strong feelings about that? You bet. I'm a child fanatic. I love children. So to think about a child being harmed, oh my gosh, you talk about getting my shackles up, whew. But at the same time, I can't vilify, because they may have only been doing what they knew to do out of their own brokenness and their own trauma history. So rather than blame and shame, we need to find a way for the child to have some kind of a connection. So, and that, each situation is different, so we can help you with that piece. I haven't seen too many where we haven't been able to find some thread there. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one here. Help your child develop a strength-based understanding. And this, again, could be like what I was saying. Your parents cared enough about you. They wanted to make sure that you were in a safe home. We could also say, I heard that your neighbors used to love to come over and see you, or your neighbor's dog really misses you, or, this is the street that you lived on. And I know that the school had good reports about you. They talked about how kind you were. So whatever it looks like, we want to help them have a narrative to their story that's not just ugliness. I'm sure your parents love to see your little smile. Do you realize what a cute smile you have? We may need to kind of embellish a little bit on that, because we're not going to have all that information. But doesn't every child have a right to feel that they were precious? I mean, at some moment, somebody in their life had to believe that they were precious, because children are precious. They are. So I see a baby anywhere around, I want my hands on them. So, I don't know what we can do, but we can say, we can help find some points in their lives that were significant and were positive. Because narrating their life story is a very positive process for kids with trauma histories. So be an advocate. Your child may need and may benefit from non-traditional responses. We have a lot of kids with our trauma histories that have benefited extremely well from being around animals. We were talking about a girl yesterday that they won't even let her in any schools. I think she's 9. She's got significant behaviors. They won't let her in any of the area schools in the Denver metro area. And they were saying, we just don't know what to do with her. She gets very irate. She starts acting out and raging and throwing things. Well, is there any time that she's calm? Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, the therapist is saying. She puts her cat up her shirt. I said, let's think about that. So what is that doing? Cat, real life cat, in her shirt. What's that doing? Protecting the cat, like nobody protected her. The feel, like what part? What's a cat do? Purrs, vibration. Think about little babies that we're trying to soothe. What do? We vibrate, don't we? My oldest son was colicky, wouldn't sleep. We put him in the infant seat on the dryer, turn the dryer on. He'd go right out. Or you go in the car. You put a baby in the car, you drive around the block, well, we'd had to do it about 25 times, and eventually he would go to sleep, but that vibration, it's soothing, isn't it? Who's a bouncer? Anybody a bouncer in here?